loss, and then we never see it for another year, but we haven't seen any now.
So when I put along my daughter with the text, I would take that. That's not pretty much.
All right, we're pushing 7 o'clock. I'd like to start the meeting. Someone ready to be? Roll call, that'd be Secretary Janet.
Rod,
Yes.
Steve, Alan,
Yes.
Janet, yes.
Item C, motion to approve the agenda for the November 12th, 22 meeting. That's the meeting today. Yeah, I'll second that.
Approve.
Yep.
Any discussion about that?
Oh, yeah.
I noticed quite a few of the discussions are not listed in the minutes. Send you guys, I prefer you not approve it, and I can send you guys a list of things. I think
We're talking on the agenda right now, aren't we? Not minutes.
Yes.
oh, my mistake, sorry.
Okay, now we're good. So the next item was motion to approve the meeting minutes of the October 8th. That's. So you're thinking that at the end, when we do the question, answers, and comments, we need to record more details and log them.
Right, the meeting. All the conversation, but of mentioning each discussion. And there were quite a few discussions missed. So we could do it again.
Well, if Marshall supplies the information, we could.
So I want to make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting and mark it and then in the later attached to it, whatever.
And then I'd like to take that information and at the bottom of the minutes for this meeting, that's where we would include it.
Either way.
Now, I don't want to wait a whole month. We'll do it. You know, it's going to take a week or two. Yeah.
Second.
I'm with it. You with it?
I'm good. Yep.
Let me take it out. I'll make sure I get it right. Okay, thank you. Committee reports. So I've talked before about the governance operations manual. It's going to be a book probably located there or any office. We'll make sure that people understand. I have another example. Section 8 of the operations manual will be facilities with roads and common areas. So this is where road signs or sign policy or procedure will be. So I was asked to see about putting some signs on the streets down there on Lowana. After about 16 hours into it, not getting very far, I turned around and assigned it to Michael, thinking that maybe he had prior years' experience. So it's not so much to me about the road signs, it is about a policy and a procedure that we'll have. So the next board or the board after needs a road sign, they don't have to spend all that time. They could just go over, come in here, request a book, or go online and say, this is who you contacted last time, this is what it costs. That's the kind of documentation I want for the continuity of the Leilani Community Association. In the background, we're working on governance operation manual. but our main focus has been on the elections committee. And it's come a ways. We will post an addendum with the update of the election schedule. Of the election committees, we have teams. One is a member outreach team that has Alan and Steve Gaulis on it, working on the master membership list. Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, we got the first cut all done. So all the properties are identified, TMK numbers, lot numbers, names, 50 official addresses, number of voters, all that sort of information. So we use that to generate the mailing list for the newsletter that's coming out. So that one we actually were able to actually combine it, to reduce it down so we don't send multiples to people. So we get a single mailing to the primary address of each owner, even if they have multiple properties. So we saved hundreds of newsletters going out because of that. So that all was nice. So the next thing will be used for sending out ballots because we've identified the owners, so we know how many votes each one can get. So that can be somewhat automatic. And I'm already working with someone. We're now experimenting with automatically hitting the county webpage to look for differences to scrub our thing. We've already got the front end of that talking, but it's going to take some logic to decode their page. But that'd be nice. We could run that periodically and look for any changes in the addresses in case that doesn't get logged with the office or something. So that would be good. So that'll be the next thing we're putting on there. But right now it's pretty good right now, and we're using it.
So Rod's version 1.0 is Steve Gullis is going to sit there every month and go through and update it.
And he did a bunch of help doing that. I sent all the formats, everything else, and he was helping me go through.
And Alan's version is the 21st century, and there's a way to do it if you know how to write code. So that would save a volunteer a lot of time down the road.
Yeah.
And it keeps us up to date. The other thing that's important about us sending out this newsletter to an updated list of addresses, we send them out first class so we get a return if they're not deliverable. Now we take that, and when the ballot or the assessments go out, we will have updated the list again. And I sincerely hope we'll get a lot more of the dues paid and get a lot more feedback. It's just the basic. I don't know how it can not have happened. But then this is my idea. So maybe,
We're trying to figure out the best way to do that as corrections come in from various sources. What's the best way to feed that in without dropping any or typos and anything else. So we try to avoid typing as much as we can, make as much automatic as we can.
communications team. That's about the election info. We just mentioned the newsletter's done. I've got an addendum A that will be posted with this minutes. And basically it's the elections committee appealed to the board, saying the timeline for the newsletter is such that the elections committee required funding for on-time publication. The board invoked bylaw article 4, Board of Directors actions authorized without meeting to grant the motion and second and vote in totality by written email consent. The motion to approve $2,000 for the printing and distribution of the 22 LCA newsletter. People should start getting that newsletter on the 22nd and the 23rd. The 24th of November is a holiday, Thanksgiving. 25th, I don't know what the mailbox people are doing. Start seeing them come in the mainland about the same time. They might get theirs before this time because it's coming from there. But these people, Blue Sky team, were pretty good to work with. So ballot handling, we're starting to work on that. We're preparing the ballots. We're trying to make sure it's legal to the state law, and we're working off everything we had in the past, trying to organize it, trying to get it down to where we can fit it on the front and back page. It's closer than I think, because we've got people working on it. So we expect to be ahead on that one. We're talking about maybe sending assessments at the same time, because we know the mailing cost is going to be about $980. It's going to be about $1,940. The ballots might be less because instead of a trifold 6-page, probably be a 2-page. At the most, a 4-page. But I have envelopes stuffed in there for returns. The management part of the elections committee is we're documenting everything as we go along. For instance, we thought we had the printers under wrap 7 days ago, and then we found some information and updated the master membership list again to accommodate that put them off, and then they wanted new proofs. But it's all through, and that part is pretty much done. But we're documenting. That's important. We're documenting, so somebody following in our footsteps next time will say, "Oh, I see they had a 3-day delay because of something with the printer. This is how you avoid it. You move it back 3 days. You keep your act together a little better." Still on a learning curve. Documentation for the election policies. That becomes section 4 of the governance operations manual, which will be, again, available. Anybody with internet connection could go on and look at it, make comments. Janet, Architectural Committee, I know you were gone. Welcome back.
I have finally, since getting back, gotten everything I need to be able to start doing stuff with CCNRs. I was missing key paperwork to be able to do it. So now I'm looking for another member or two to be part of my CCNR and architectural committee that is interested. On that, nothing to report.
Yeah, it's all up and down the agenda here. It's trying to get members, people involved. Even breaking it down to where, like Steve goes, he's happy to help. Thinking to be like 2 or 3 hours here and there. I don't know how much time he spent. Alan's worked with him and sending loads of information. He's in the comfort of his home. He's doing the research. So we could all use some researchers that could go out and start pulling out the policies and ancient information. That will go into the operations manual and be easy to find in the future. Steve, treasurer's report.
Should be posted online, the balance sheet and the profit and loss. We've got money in the bank, like almost 220,000 cash. So far to date, I think we're up to like 49 of the buyouts have gone through. And I'm sure Kim's got a whole slew of those in the office with past dues and stuff attached to them. So we're good.
Yeah, she updates every time she has one. So picture of it, send it to me. I keep a list that then I turn over to Alan. So our list is up to date, but as of today, it's 2 behind. So by next week, it might be 12 behind. But with Kim's help, we can get everything that comes in. And with looking at the county records, we'll catch the ones that slide through the cracks. Anything on the legal update, Steve?
The only thing on legal support is 6.
That's this month, so it's coming up quick.
Yeah, you got all the briefs that Amanda sent me. I sent those to you.
26th or 28th.
I thought the 28th.
That's the 20.
28th is a Monday.
Yeah.
Bring a bunch of leaks.
We'll go over it.
Yeah. Look at them. Oh, that's that. 25 pages, whatever it was. Yeah, I looked at that.
It's different.
Hey, on old business, I just mentioned the road signs and getting procedure, but that was just an example of a procedure that, I don't know, a procedure to give out basketballs to people out here. There might be a policy, I just haven't seen it. The way I do things, I like to have a policy for that, it's ABC.
BYOB.
Yeah, that's all covered. Something goes wrong, you look back and you fix it. Just these are living documents. Somebody smarter than you will come along next and they'll find something that needs to be included or something that needs to be taken out. Make a presentation, whichever board will look at it, they're in agreement, they update the documents, puts back in the file. Boom. You can see it all down, all documented. The ground penetrating radar reports, they're telling me it won't be until April till they have something to report. They need to study the information, make their reports to justify the grants they use to come down here. So I'm not going to keep that on the old business. April? Yeah, April.
And you know, crunching something.
I don't know.
You know,
We did an old database in a few weeks. So. I know. I don't know what they're doing.
Didn't they
So,
do the GPR back in April?
August. Oh, and the two lines you saw coming down Fissure 8, that was them dragging their sled to. I'm surprised that happened. The other thing on old business is the cell tower out back here. Going back and forth with them. Arranged for them to talk to the people with the air monitoring station. And so they said if they expand, it's got to be to the left or the front or back of the cell tower, not to the right. So that's established, and now we're talking about ground space. Trying to find out. My understanding is the system we have will handle 3 more carriers, and I don't understand why they want to add equipment to add 3 more carriers. So I'm trying to get a good grasp of that. So it might take.
How much money per story?
That's part of my problem. Verizon's paying us what, $17.25 a month?
Yeah.
I don't want a new guy until it's 200.
No.
It's gonna be close to the top of the range. At one time, I stood AT&T was gonna come down here. But I don't know how much they were offering to pay us to use the tower.
So they haven't given you back some figures.
They're talking $200, and I'm saying that's not working for me. I can't really take that to the community because so it's a problem. Question answers, comments.
New business?
Didn't have any new business. Oh, all right, new business, anybody?
So, I think Alan should be VP.
No.
So let's make a motion to
Wait a minute.
remove that VP title from me and give it to Alan.
move what? In here? Whatever you guys want.
But you gotta be comfortable with that.
We talked about this.
We already talked about it. Well, we didn't tell you.
We don't sit around in groups outside here and talk because if 3 of us speak together, it's a meeting, so we don't do that. And usually I only talk to him by email or on the phone. So. You're gonna make a motion?
Yeah, make a motion. Remove that VP title from you, give it to Alan.
Second.
Thanks, dear.
I ran it by her first.
Made a motion, seconded.
Alan, do you agree?
I'm good with it.
Okay, I'll go with it then. 4, pass. I just want to mention, so you know, the elections committee, at the bottom of the schedule. We're trying to put together a training for officers or incoming officers. I know everything that I do and I document as we go along because I call it intake, outtake, so the next person, I should be able, here's what we gotta do, we gotta go to the bank and do this, we gotta go do this, we gotta change this. That was all foreign to us, we were just kind of stranded, as it was for the board before us. I don't care who comes next. This is good for the community, that's what I'm gonna do. Part of that will be, as we move along, and before the end of our election cycle, defining in more detail the positions and the requirements. I mean, we have brief descriptions in our charter, organizational documents that we can expand on. So people have a better idea what they're walking into. Any other new business?
Old business.
Question, answers, or comments? Yes, sir.
Jim Hager from my district. I've got a couple of concerns about the election. Number one is, it's my understanding, and last time, that there's going to be 5 members on the director.
Correct.
And
Yes.
will the ballots reveal that?
Correct.
Okay, my concern is Article 4, Section 1. I'll read it to you. Number, there shall be a board of directors of the corporation of not less than 3 or more than 7 members, as may from time to time be determined by the members of the corporation. To me, that means the board does not have the power to arbitrarily change the number.
I'm glad you brought that up now. Everything we can, as soon as we can study everything now, the better we are down the road. So I'm gonna have to do some research on that. And I plan to include it in the questioning comments.
Right. The way that it reads, it's the minimum of 3 and maximum of 7. It doesn't say you can.
Mr. Hafner's position is that the way it's worded, it's the membership that determines how many.
Membership can change the minimum and the maximum. That's what it says. You need a membership vote to change the minimum of 3 or the maximum of 7. It doesn't say you need a membership vote to say that you're only gonna.
Yeah,
You just have to be within that 3%.
and I'm gonna study it either way and make a note on it.
Well, it doesn't say that you have the power to change it.
Doesn't say you don't either.
I'll run that right there.
Like paying him.
No, I don't either.
It's a lawyer. I don't like lawyers.
Second concern is to revisit the vetting issue. I'm concerned that you don't have the power to impose constraints on candidates. And my reasons for this are one of them. Number one is that the bylaws nowhere put any constraints on candidates, either by not failing to fulfill their obligations to pay assessments, or failure to be in compliance with the CC. So I'm worried that you don't have bylaws. Number two, there is a purported bylaw supposedly passed in 1977 amendment. And although it's not actually worded as a bylaw change as we normally do it, it's a question that sounds more like a polling situation, but even if it is considered to be an amendment, there is a question about whether or not in 1960 to change the bylaws. And the reason for there is a question is that in July of 1969, bylaws were changed in two ways. Number one, the first version of bylaws allowed the board of directors to change the bylaws by themselves. And that was removed in July of 1969. But the July 1969 amendment also changed the quorum requirements for a bylaw change. And I will read you what it says in the amendment with respect to the quorum. Here's the entire paragraph with respect to section, article, section 5. At any meeting, members of which proper notice has been given, members having 10% or more of the votes present in person or by proxy shall constitute a quorum. That's old hat. We've all gone by that. But then it goes on, comma, except that a quorum of the effective amendment governed by this corporation must consist of the members having at least a majority or more of the votes of all the members of the corporation. That means you don't need just 10%, which is not, given that we had 2,000 lots and 2,000 votes. You need 1,023. And the number of votes in 1977 was 419. And so that was by the interpretation of what the board was interpreting as a quorum at the time, does not satisfy the July 1969 quorum requirements to change the bylaw. So I have real doubts in 1977 amendments to it said that a board member, not a candidate, but a board member must be in compliance with the CC. And that was, but back last year, that was the justification for vetting the candidate.
Wait. That was a lot of stuff, and there's no way I could keep up with the notes, and I'm not sure I understand.
So I've written it all out.
Thank you.
I will pass it on to
That one in particular, yes, thank you.
Okay. So there's a question about the 1977 amendment due to the forum. But even if the 1977 vote for the CCNR compliance requirement for candidates were held, it does not place a restriction on the candidates. The difference between the candidates and directors in 1977 made no mention of candidates. It only said directors must be in. The actual validity of the 1977 amendment was challenged in 1980 and 1981. A candidate who was not in compliance with the driveway wanted to run as to be a member of the director candidate. And the board at the time requested an opinion from their attorney. And the attorney said the following, I'm reading two paragraphs of the attorney's opinion. I have reviewed the bylaws to ascertain the procedure for determining the eligibility of the board of directors. At present, there is no procedure established by the bylaws. For board nominees ought to be in violation of the driveway covenant. It will be necessary to determine that construction of the residence has been completed. I suggest this be handled direct with the nominee. If the nominee admits that the construction is complete, then the board should request that the nominee either submit a letter of intent or withdraw his nomination. If no letter of intent is submitted and the nomination is not withdrawn, then I believe the bylaws Section 10, removal, the director should call a special meeting for the purpose of removing the director. Violation was continued. So I'm concerned that you are without due concern for the bylaws and the precedent of this prior attorney opinion going forward with this hearing. And I want to pose an alternative approach, which I believe is in compliance with bylaws and the precedent, but still allows us to avoid having to remove candidates who are elected to the board without fulfilling the requirements for being in good standing or violating CCNRs or whatever other reason that you chose. And it's got a few parts to it, but I'll read it out for you. So I believe you should allow all members that wish to stand for election. If you feel that some at the elected would substantially need to be removed by invoking the 1977 amendment, if that's valid, and using Article 4, Section 10 to remove them, then do the following. Publish the LCA on the LCA website and in the LCA minutes the names of such candidates and your specific detailed reasons for questioning their adherence to bylaw restrictions on direction. Part B, simultaneously approach the candidates with the opportunity to correct or explain the discrepancy using as a Article 3, Section 6 procedure that allows that to correct the board of directors retraction of a member's voting privileges due to lack of good standing. That is a well-established part of the bylaws. You cannot vote if you're not in good standing. And in Article 3, Section 6, there's some outline of a procedure by which the board should do this. And it basically means working with the person in question. In any case, I think however you choose to do this by working with the individual, fairness and transparency. Finally, should the candidate refuse to withdraw from the election, then he or she must be allowed to proceed. But with the to that individual from you guys, that the newly elected board has the obligation to remove them according to procedures in the bylaw. So I think it's pretty important for you to be in compliance with the bylaws and your policies. And I think some of them, it's pretty clear that do not really allow you to do vetting at all. That narrow and glean from the list of potential candidates, those which you feel are possibly violating these issues. So I think, I think there's a way to go about this that is fair to everybody, and will, if you, publicize that they're very likely going to be removed the voting membership, and they influence the cells to it.
Jim, are you done?
Yes,
Okay, and you're gonna,
yes, I have this.
because I
Sure.
want to give it its due attention, and we'll need that in front of me. It's gonna take me hours. There's a lot of, I know you've probably already gone through and looked everything up. Now I'm gonna go through and look everything up.
That's fine. I only want you to consider the ramifications of doing this the way they did it last year.
Thank you.
I was just wondering with regard to everything you were saying, wouldn't it be easier if doesn't the ballot go to print a certain period of time prior to the election? And that if they are not in compliance by that time, then they're left off the ballot. They're not to be in compliance, yet, eligible to be a candidate but not be in compliance, and therefore not be eligible should they be elected, then you have to take them off. So shouldn't they be in compliance before the vote?
Well, that's not what the bylaws say. The bylaws don't say that they have to be.
I'll study that. I hear you, but I want to.
Sure, I'm not expecting all the answer.
Mark had his hand up. Go ahead. Yes, Greg.
I think that the opinion that you're referring to refers to one bylaw or CCNR violation only, and that's the driveway apron. But Ray Hasegawa, our attorney years ago, If I can't find it in my old files, I might have a copy. I'll ask him for his opinion on it. But he told us in order to run for the board, you need to be in compliance with the CCNRs, because how can you enforce CCNRs if you're not in compliance yourself? And that's why the last board wasn't able to do a lot of it.
So we may have one lawyer's opinion and apparently have another lawyer's opinion. I'll have to study both of those. And try and be impartial. May have to engage our lawyer to have him look at, which I don't like to do because he's gonna have to do so much research and background. But if that's the only way to get an answer that's as honest and upfront as we can, that's what I'll do. Just Marcus.
Well, I was thinking about this kind of situation. I think he had a very good argument that he was in compliance. And that we were lucky that he did not sue the LCA. And I think just that simple idea that you gotta be in compliance or you can't run, could lead to more legal suits. And Jim's suggestion sounds like it would reduce that possibility dramatically. I mean, Greg's suggestion, it sounds easy, but it's not easy, because in the case of Penny's house, he didn't build a house. So in my view, he wasn't. And as far as that, was there ever a CCNR violation given to Jim Penny for the height of this house?
I don't know, because a couple of years of documentation's gone. We just don't have it. It disappeared.
Seems like something we ought to know, because if he wasn't, again, that puts us in legal, our corporation in legal jeopardy. Had he wanted to sue that, his house was, as far as I know, was approved when it was originally built. There was no challenge legally to the height of the house. And then it has changed hands probably a couple of times since then.
My understanding was when it was built, it was in compliance because there was a mound or a giant rock that raised the highest point of land enough that the house was within. Since then, the material and rock were removed, which lowered the topography, which made the house exceed the requirement.
Your understanding from the documentation of that?
No. I've talked to.
So we're talking anecdotally here, all three of us are. And it seems to me that you're just making this decision without bylaw backing. You're putting the community at risk legally.
Jim Penny in a meeting admitted he was not in compliance with CCNRs. That's why we had to start addressing it. He said in a board meeting, I'm gonna be in trouble because I'm not in compliance because of the height restrictions. So if he already knew that and if the mound had gone away, he could have piled it up.
Again,
would have been
you have
fine.
documentation that he was
There's no
not.
documentation. This is from so many years ago when the house was built. Rich Willing knew the story then about the thing. I mean, it was
Feel he should build the mount back up?
And that would be up to him,
Again,
what he wants to do.
this is.
Mark, he admitted in a meeting that he was not in compliance.
No,
So in the board, we had to address that, and that's what we did. You bring up all these ridiculous things all the time.
Okay, hang on. So it's been brought up before, and it's not just that situation, there may be other situations. Yeah.
So, this, well, I think I've said what I.
Yeah, thank you. Anything else? Yes,
Steve, have you got an estimate? Our lawyer for the cost of the trial? No. You have no estimate, you can go ahead with the trial without. As treasurer, without knowledge of how much it'll cost us?
Part of the lawsuit is asking for attorney fees and damages.
Well, I know you're fantasizing, you're not gonna pay anything,
I just told you, part of the lawsuit is they're asking for attorney fees and damages.
That's not any friend
If LCA wins, that bill goes to them.
That's true, but
It's
that's a
not the
fantasy.
LCA's bill.
That's a fantasy.
Well,
And
then,
so you haven't asked our own lawyer what the legal costs of the car.
The accounting department has not gotten that.
it's hard to do because of all the defendant's lawyer who is doing a job. Keeps bringing up motions and add this and add that, and I understand it's part of the process, but all those things add cost. We have no idea what the next surprise is gonna be, so we can't really understand what the cost is. It appears that the push is to make it as expensive as possible.
So Mark, let me answer your question. You sent out a newsletter the other day telling people that this is gonna cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. Where are you getting your numbers from? You're gonna throw it out there. Tell me where you're coming with these numbers from.
You could start with the deposition.
Do you have any hard evidence? Do you have anything from the attorney saying, here's how much this is gonna cost? You're throwing fear out to the community without any event-driven factual basis. You're pulling numbers out of your past.
Not of my ass.
You're pulling them out of somewhere. You're not getting them from the
Wait.
attorney. Well, you know how many there have been, you tell me.
I don't know.
Six defendants. Most of them. That worries me, that you're not knowledgeable enough
That-
to represent us at
Keep
trial.
going with your
So
assumptions.
that's six plus the four original plaintiffs plus all the other people they.
And we have-
That's probably 14 people that have been.
There's no way to determine the cost. For me, mine was 8 hours and 20 minutes.
8 hours. That's
20 minutes.
300.
Jan, did you do one? No. Okay. I know some other people work right under 2 hours.
Okay, so we're averaging probably 4 or 5 hours. So
I don't.
yes.
So where you getting this hundreds of thousands of dollars that you're telling the community about?
And then each of those are gonna $300 an hour minimum. I think,
Oh, it's way more than that.
right, and then that's what, well, I think, the cost of, Mr. Revere is 350, and that's a discount per hour.
Well,
That's my understanding, and then each of those requires not just the hours of deposition, but the review afterwards.
so there's no way that I know the cost. There's no way I can figure the expenses of this. We know the trial's gonna start, the jury selection is gonna start in 2 weeks. We've got this far, and it's my intention to lead this board to go all the way up and get a decision from a judge or a judge and a jury. And then everything at that point, whichever way it goes, I will live with.
No, the whole community will live.
Correct.
And I have had, I didn't send out the news, I don't know, I sent it to me. I have had people reply to me saying, because their money is going for this wasteful.
Because you're telling me we're spending hundreds of
It's
thousands of
just,
dollars.
it's a difference of opinion. Some people think it's a waste.
Did you ever give any hard numbers?
Where was your outrage when Andy spent $112,000 of LCA money? Robert Golden spent $168,000 of LCA money. They spent a fortune between the three of them. There's $320,000 of LCA money. Where was your outrage then?
Would you please send me those documents? Are you pulling them out of the ground?
Thank
So you don't want to confuse evidence, you want anecdote.
All you're gonna do is look at the financial report.
This is kind of like a dead end. It's gonna cost, it's gonna cost.
Real quick,
Excuse me, sir.
Meeting. In a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for coming.
Don't be hot about this. Peaceful and be humble and shut up.
I'm sorry, what's your name, sir?
My sister is Elias Kumar and Lima Como. They live up there, my issue.
No, I was just curious, I haven't, I don't
We lived there a
recognize.
long time, my sister was
Yeah.
born and raised in Opinco, my mom and dad is grew up with in Sicily.
you. Thanks for coming to the meeting.
Yeah, I'll be coming in September. I don't.
Thank you.
We don't wanna disturb her over there.
Yeah.
Promise, I know.
Yeah, I've never seen him in a meeting before. I'm glad he showed up.
He's been in a couple.
So the legal issue is almost to the point of fruition or spoil. I don't know which way you want to look at it. I'm determined that it's going to go through and it's going to happen. There's enough invested now that I don't think there's any way to back out. The cost of backing out is extreme.
Why
So
would it be more than what's gonna happen if you look at
it's going to be more because of the counter offer that the defendants made to our reasonable offer, which we think is unacceptable, that I don't think I have the privilege of discussing the details.
It's a
Because it's attorney-client privilege.
To not communicate with the members? The
When it
details
comes down to legal issues or personnel issues,
don't.
yeah.
Can't you guys make the decision rather than and the lawyer advise you?
Or you're sitting right beside one of the defendants, why don't you ask her?
I made the decision to ask the lawyer, in this case, Amanda Ducher, and she requested the board not talking to any detail about the lawsuit. It's just about the end of the road, so. what do you-
You're telling us, just like information about what you thought about your, offer and what you got back from the defendants. That's talking about it without giving me any information.
That's correct.
I can't judge the. Right.
And that was the goal.
Really irresponsible and,
I-
non-transparent. Okay.
I was under legal advice to be very careful. So, no, I'm not gonna discuss
How
that.
can that, how can that change your legal proceedings? Since the defendants know it and
If the defendants know it, I wish they'd volunteer the information.
no, I'm saying the lawyers are talking to the defendants and to the plaintiffs. But you're not sharing that information. It's the same information that's gonna go to trial. Threatening your success at trial. Telling the members what's going on. I think the only way it would threaten it is if the members thought you were not, your decisions were unlawful.
Now, my decision is based on legal advice and I intend to follow it. Anything else?
I have one last thing. And I'll bet you can guess.
I didn't
what it is.
put notes on that one, sorry. Okay, Mark, please.
So, in, September, you apologize for not announcing the meeting, the August meeting early. You said you dropped the ball. And, 10 days or 2 weeks early. And so I suggested you do that, and then September was 1 day suggested you post a couple weeks in advance, and you said that was a good idea.
That is a good idea, but if you go back to the June 12th, 2020 meeting minutes, the president at the time said, slam the table. The minutes, the membership, this board of directors meeting is the second Thursday of every month. Therefore, it meets the requirements of notification.
And therefore, you're deciding not to give an announcement. Here we have what, 12 people? Last time we had 8. Time before that, remember, I had 15. And you're gonna be giving 1 day notices. Last
Mark, it's where, when I started the board up here, we were lucky if we had one person. And I mean, everybody knows
It's the second Thursday. It's documented as that.
everybody knows, you take that time, say that, except it's not.
Different time.
It's different time, different place, sometimes not at the pavilion, sometimes
It's 20
only,
feet.
only.
Come on.
Come here.
Ridiculous.
Like, the last year and a half.
Great.
Well, on the website, it says,
Ridiculous, Mark.
on the website, it
Oh,
says-
fine.
on the
Because you're
website,
upset.
it
Seriously,
says,
listen to us, man.
Okay.
it says 6:30.
I think we can,
That's what it says.
Show up early. Come on.
So when you.
Why do you do this?
I did show up early, but having shown up at 26 there would be nobody setting up, oh, I must have missed it.
well,
So not only do you.
And they are-
that should be done by now. I've had a couple of requests into the webmaster.
Yeah, that's the webmaster.
No, 2 days ago, she said. Well, I have to check if she did it.
They're submitting to that slam on the table. Even though you saw it 2 weeks notice is a good idea.
When I got to looking at it, it's no less than 10 or more than 60-day notice.
Right.
And I'm telling you that it is in our written documentation that the second Thursday of every month. So in effect,
And it's on the
you have a
master
1
plan.
through a 60-day notice. I mean,
It's on the master. plan.
I'd like to make, we just change it back to 6:30 like it's been since the beginning of time and there'll be no confusion.
first I've done 5 o'clock this week. So say that again, you're requesting,
That just be changed back to 6:30 like it's been from the beginning of time, and then nobody will be confused, they'll know it's always at 6:30. And it's always,
yeah, we just changed it, 7 o'clock. I'll go with 7 for tomorrow.
A lot of people work, so 7:30.
That's what he did.
I can get her at 6:30, I'd be here.
7 works.
Okay, we'll just leave it as it is for this time. All right, thank you all for coming. Thank you for your comments.
So where it says that it's on the community calendar, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So if you want to change that.
Pam? All right, so we're gonna join the meeting now. Okay?
Okay, good.
Thank you.